be with you. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Now I know I said Antoine.
Antoine.
Antoine, but how do you pronounce it?
Antoine.
Antoine.
Yeah.
Antoine. Parlez-vous français?
Oui, oui, je parle français.
Bonjour. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
I know, I mean, there's a big community in France.
Yes, there is. Yeah.
There is, and you know, they're tuning in and they're like, alhamdulillah, we have a native from Paris.
Mm-hmm.
You got the French, that's how you can identify. Is that like particular to...
That's usually more British.
More British?
Yeah, but people usually associate with
Why do they associate it with the French people? You know,
I guess, you know, it's the beret and the baguette, and I don't carry the baguette with me.
Yeah. So you have a very interesting story. You were agent to the stars, the underground stars, Derek Carter and some of these other people who were very well-known DJs, some of the top elite DJs in the music world. And we want to kind of get a before and an after. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and so we can kind of have the audience identify with you, and then we'll get to where you're at today.
Inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So, Jazakallah khairan first. Thank you so much for having me here, inshallah. I'd say we because it's my wife and I actually traveling, and we're just going back to Chicago where I used to live, and that's where I reverted to Islam 12 years ago. At that time, as you were saying, I was in the music business. I was bringing basically French DJs to the US, French DJs and musicians, and the other way around as well. And as you were saying, music was my life. Dance was my life. I was spending most of my time in nightclubs, not for drinking. I wasn't drinking at the time, actually. I had quit drinking already, but to be in that kind of frenzy, I guess. And Chicago opened up its arms for me, and so I worked there for a few years. But I guess I was also developing on the side some, I wasn't satisfied completely, of course. I was looking for something else, and even though I was physically involved in a lot of things, spiritually something was missing.
There was a big void, you could say.
There was a void, definitely.
Isn't France known for now being people go to France for that romance, and it's kind of linked to, you get away, you got French wine, French women, and it's just kind of like, the big party in France, romance. Is this kind of, is this correct?
There's a part of it that's correct. It still has, a very big fantasy.
Fantasy, that's what it is. People create a fantasy around French, the French language. But you, obviously you were living that whole lifestyle and you weren't happy.
No, when I grew up also, I was lucky enough to travel. I lived in other cities. I lived in London, I lived in Hong Kong. I'd seen other parts of the world, and for me, it all eventually goes to the same materialistic view of things. Our world today is just the same pretty much everywhere. Yeah. So even this fantasy about France, when people get to Paris, they understand that it's no more.
No?
No, unfortunately.
Is that is it the French president also, who was kind of also just chasing his desires? Is that the one? And he was hiring prostitutes, and is that the French president, or which?
This one, maybe not, so overtly, I don't know. But, yeah.
These politicians, they're kind of getting caught with,
Yeah, oh yeah.
Indulging in their passions.
Yeah, you're talking about, the former president of the IMF.
Okay, yes, okay.
Who was going to be the next president.
He was going to be the next president.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, astaghfirullah.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? So you see people, indulging in their desires. You were, living, numbing their minds with, either drugs or alcohol.
Yes, I was in the middle of that.
Yeah, you were in the middle of that.
I had some clarity because I wasn't taking any drugs or drinking. But I guess another way of numbing yourself is, through any kind of addiction. And music to me was an addiction. Dance to a certain extent was an addiction as well. I had to have that, that inner rush, like you can get in sports, or you can get. So I was kind of hooked on that. And alhamdulillah, Allah Azza wa Jal made it so that I get injured, actually. I got injured. I couldn't perform what I was doing before.
How did you get injured?
Doing martial arts, actually.
So you've done martial arts also?
Yes.
Capoeira, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, I was playing capoeira here.
Yeah.
So,
So you get injured now. Was it kind of a match that you had, or just during some regular training?
Just during training.
Okay.
Yeah, and as something snapped actually in my back. I had to take a rest for a long time, and it happened so that at the same time I met this brother here, Farid, who I must say sending my biggest salam, because to date he's still my biggest friend, my best friend.
So you met a Muslim now?
I met a Muslim. Yeah.
Okay.
He's a French Algerian Muslim.
Okay, but before that, were you involved in any kind of religion?
Not much. I was looking at different philosophies, mostly Eastern, like Buddhism, Taoism. I was more into that, basically.
Yeah. You mentioned before, I think that you weren't, there's kind of a negative thing attached to religion. People don't want to be associated with any organized religion.
Exactly. That at the time when I met this brother, that was what really struck me. He was someone who was very free, very himself, who knew himself very well, who had knowledge about a lot of things, was very smart, and we had a lot of conversations together. And he was taking me to other levels, really, of intellectualism. But at the same time, he was following what I called at the time organized religion, which for me was nothing but constraints and like shutting doors to your to your spirit or to your intellect. So for me, that was a big paradox at the time.
Yeah. Is it in France? What's the predominant religion there now today?
Today, some people say it's Islam.
Some people, Islam?
Yes, because there's a very large population of Muslims in France, and unfortunately, the Christian community doesn't practice anymore. The churches are empty.
The churches are empty in France?
Very much empty.
I've heard the same thing in UK and many other European countries, that the churches are empty.
Yeah.
Why do you think this is?
Well, they got caught into that individualism, this materialistic world, and they don't see any interest in those traditions anymore. And on the other hand, the mosques are full. The mosques are spinning over the streets, which causes trouble sometimes. But because we're not given enough room to pray, for instance, on Friday prayers, for instance. So people pray on the streets.
The mosques are full.
Yeah, we're crammed, in the mosque in Paris.
So how do you go from not wanting to follow any organized religion, and then you come to Islam?
So first, because of that meeting with this brother, that set idea that I had in my mind was slowly changing. I could tell there was something else in Islam that actually provided him with the right basis, the right structure for him to blossom, just in every direction. That's what Islam is all about. It gives us this strong basis, basically. And then on the other side, so that was more like the intellectual side of things, the theoretical, and then I also started feeling very, like different pains in my body. And at the time, I talked about it to this brother, and he said, maybe, Islam can do something there for you as well. And that's where I started actually having ruqya done on me.
That's the healing with the Quran. You can actually do that.
Yes. Yeah. And for me, that was very, very strong. Because the first time I actually heard the Quran, I didn't speak a word of Arabic. It was someone actually he had brought in, so I didn't know him. I was sitting on a chair, he started reciting, and I started shaking. Yeah. And I started actually moving the way like he was telling me to in Arabic, but I couldn't, understand a word. Yeah. It had a profound effect on me, like physically, emotionally, aesthetically as well. I could feel something in my heart opened up at that time. This, that it was just something very beautiful that was just coming to my heart, that was touching my heart, and from then on I was hooked. I guess I could tell that I needed to go and dig further in that direction. So that has never left me since then, basically.
We're going to take a break. Right now, what you can do is actually type in, if you're close to a computer, type in Quran recitation and just listen to these words. Powerful. You might not understand them, but you will feel the effects, definitely. Quran recitation, and you can see if you can identify with what he was talking about. And we'll be right back with more to talk to our brother all the way from Paris. We'll be right back with more here on The Dean Show. Back here on The Dean Show with Anthony, and proper pronunciation or proper way to say this name is
Ontweini.
Ontweini. Okay. So Ontweini, nowadays you see that when we mention religion, people have this distance they distance themselves from any organized religion. And then you mentioned something about the Quran. It had this effect on you.
Yes.
Now, many people don't know that, you know, Islam really calls you to think, to use your mind. You know, it's a thinking man's way of life. You know, this Quran ponders you to think. You know, the Creator is challenging mankind. If you say that this book is from other than the Creator, find one discrepancy, contradiction. As in the other man-made religions, you will see contradictions, things that, you know, don't add up. So people just leave religion altogether. You said that now that the Quran had a profound effect on you, and you went further. Was there mental intelligent stimulation that came after this? That when you looked into it,
of course, you know. But I was at the time I wasn't speaking Arabic, so I was going through translation, and I must emphasize here how important it is to learn Arabic. I was actually, for a long time, I've been struggling with it because of the effect it had on me. You know, it was hard for me to open up a Quran. I could feel, you know, its, basically its power, I guess, you know, its healing power. So it was very much, you know, like in a room where I would be learning Arabic or listening to Quran, I would have to leave. It would be too much. If people were reciting around me, you know, it had this profound effect on me. So, of course, I could tell, you know, even though that at the time it was only like a physical thing, but I could tell, of course, those were powerful words.
yeah.
So, and all of this, you know, went further after that to a more of a, you know, like, again, I started learning about my deen. I was able to access this theological institute in Paris and, you know, learn about all we know about the Sirah, about life of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, about fiqh, about you know, Arabic eventually. And then so, yeah, eventually I get to a point, of course, where you're able to, you know, open up any page of the Quran and learn something that is useful for you in your life today, that has been an applied, very like practical application and lesson.
How did you deal with all the negative stereotypes and the Islamophobia? Many people, they're searching for truth. You know, they want truth, and if truth comes to them, if they can buy it, they would pay for it. You know what I mean? But nowadays, as soon as you say Islam, there's some negative stereotypes, and we know all of this stuff is just false propaganda. That indeed Islam is this way of life from the Creator, submission to the will of the one who made you, your maker, the maker of mankind. You know, the same way of life that Jesus, Moses, and all the messengers of God, they call people to worship this one God. So now, you know, you have people, especially in France, a lot of Islamophobia.
Yes.
How do you deal with this? How did you deal with this? You're still dealing with it, I'm sure.
Yes, of course. We're still very much concerned, although we've left, you know, France a few months ago now. But you know, this is our home. This is my country. This is where I was born. This is where all my family is from. So it's very painful. Just painful to have my religion being portrayed like this. My, you know, fellow countrymen having a very negative view for most of them, in my family even, you know. It's hard. It's hard because it's not anymore on an intellectual, you know, level, that the dimension that where things can be discussed. You know, it's actually hard to discuss. You know, you mention God in France, and the door's shut down. So it's very hard to actually have a conversation about God.
Yeah, I mean, do you think now if people didn't have this myopic vision, they weren't so narrow-minded, and you can actually get in to talk, because people are, obviously you can see, like when you start talking about God being a man, that he died, and many of these beliefs that just don't make sense, Trinity, and you can't figure it out. And I'm sure French people are intelligent people, they're thinking people. So now I think most of this came from man-made religions, organized by man, but now, you know, the door's shut, but a lot of people are losing out, because I'm sure if they heard about Islam and it's the rational teachings, and you know, the way that Islam is the antidote for many of all of the social ills.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's again, as I was saying today, it's hard to challenge this on a like intellectual dimension level. It has to be more for us at first as being, you know, the best examples that we can be. You know, Dawah starts with behavior, with how your character is, and we very much emphasize, you know, our life and our behavior to be the best person that we can be. That allows us to have like further, you know, discussion and go deeper into every people, like, you know, kind of lift off a few barriers that people have, you know, a few that of those gates that they've been putting in front of them. So that's probably right now in France how it is today, I would say, for most people.
Yeah. Okay, so now you have all these religions. In Islam, obviously you're going to get the most trouble practicing it. You know, you're going to get the most resistance. So you have Christianity, you have Buddhism, and a lot of times if you practice these, no one's going to say nothing to you. Just go ahead. You know? So why did you choose Islam?
You know, that's what I tell all the reverts, I call them reverts or converts that I meet, you know, how can you choose Islam? Have you looked at the news? Did you know, do you know what Islam is? No, it's just, it goes so far beyond that. You know, I guess, you know, a lot of it cannot be explained. You're just taken on this journey. I'm taken on a journey. I don't control anything here. You know, Allah Azza wa Jal actually, you know, brought me here. I was born and raised in a place in France where there's very little Muslim. I couldn't access any knowledge about Islam. I had to come here in the US, 2001. You know, when people hear that, they say, well, you chose your moment and place, you know. And I had to come here to basically find out about it. So I'm trying the best that I can to, you know, express who I am, first and foremost. I think that's the most important thing. And Islam is the best tool, by far, you know, the most perfect and the perfect tool to be who you are on all levels, on all dimensions. And I guess from that on, you know, you can, again, trying to set an example, trying to reach out with that behavior to other people. Of course, not, you know, never evading any confrontation, you know, where both we take part into like interfaith dialogue. We take part on the field, you know, I'm a humanitarian worker, so we do meet a lot of non-Muslims that we go and help. And of course they have questions, and of course they'll talk about Islam. But it's hard to like confront directly today in France. It's different here. You know, people are more open-minded here. People, you know, are still God-believing here. So you can talk about God, but yeah, it's hard to even mention the word God sometime in France.
Yeah, I think people like, you know, most people that we talk to, and we have this 1-800 number, 1-800 number that people call, and some people will call sometimes aggressively, but after, you know, they calm down and they start thinking rationally, and we start to explain Islam to them, Islam just makes sense. Islam is not calling you to blind belief, as you obviously know. Islam, it provides the evidence. It's authentic. It's providing, you know, the thinking person. Is there a lot of atheists in France?
Yeah, it probably is the first religion.
Yeah,
or the first,
we really, I mean, according to our belief, we don't believe there's strictly someone who's purely atheist. Everyone believes in God.
Yes, yeah. Or, you know, believing nothing is already believing in something. You know, so there's already a belief there somewhere. You just have to work on how, find the right words also. You know, we're missing a lot of the right words in France to being in French, you know, to be explained about Islam. A lot of people are just ignorant. It's just mostly ignorance. So that's the first thing, and then the second thing really is having a, you know, that's broader view of how just being in your environment, being the best that you can, and setting an example and trying to be, you know, Islam has taught me that I can have a very critical mind about what's happening around me. It gave me those tools, how to analyze the society I am in, the environment that I'm in, and trying to bring solutions. And it's true for me, that example in trying to bring solutions, and they're going to say, hey, this guy, you know, he has a few ideas that maybe not, that could be interesting for everyone. And where does he take this? From Islam, from you know, from the Sunnah of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and from the Quran.
Yeah, we're going to take a break, and then we have some more questions before we come to an end. Obviously, you know, people were out there, and depression is on the rise, you know, suicide, and people have money, but many people are unhappy. Are you happy?
Alhamdulillah. So we're Muslim, you know. I cannot be happy.
Definitely, and if you didn't know, I mean, Jesus was a Muslim, Abraham was a Muslim. All the messages that the Creator sent were Muslims, ones who submitted to the Creator, not the creation. They didn't worship anything but the one who created creation. That just makes sense. We'll be right back with more here with Antoine here on the Dean Show. We'll be right back. Back here on the Dean Show. Before we went to break, I was mentioning some facts, not fiction, that suicide is on the rise. People have technologies on the rise, but depression is also. And people are listening to music, numbing their minds, and when you want to bring up let's say, the serious topic, what's the purpose of life? Have you thought about this important question? At that time, you know, you had obviously money, agent to the stars, underground stars. You were, you know, indulging in your desires. I mean, there was a point where you're probably not even, this question, if someone asks you purpose of life, it's far from, you know,
it was just,
thinking about it, right?
Enjoying it, I guess.
Just enjoying it.
Yeah, that would have been it probably.
So if someone asks you, look, life is short, just get all you can right now because that's it. It's done. Just,
I guess, yeah.
what would you say to them?
Well, so today, you know,
now that you
I know that I've a different take on things, yeah, life is short. You know, every breath counts, and every breath today, actually, in our cities, even it's hard to breathe. You know, this even gets hard today. Everything is done for us not to be able to have that connection, you know, that spiritual connection, whether it is through remembrance, just remembering, and how can we not remember who created all this, you know, going a little further in our reflection. All this is given to us at any minute. Every breath is given to you. It's a blessing. Every piece of food, every step you take is a blessing in this world. And how can you not be thankful for that, basically? How can you just not, you know, think, okay, all this, people, you know, talk about the energy going through, or, you know, this everlasting thing goes around, but this has a creator too. All this, you know, you have to go back to the creator. You have to go this one step further, higher, to the creator of all things, and be thankful to him, because he's the one who created all this. You cannot be thankful to all this. This is creation. This is not the creator. So that would be probably my
that's where it starts, being grateful and thankful. And not being too proud to turn to the one who created you and to thank him for all the breath that you mentioned, that we breathe. That's a blessing. If people right now, they can just hold their breath, see how long you can last on your own. You can't. Yeah.
It gives you all this, but we don't even think about this. We are, as we were saying, numbed, but not only by music. We're numbed, you know, in the city life also. We're numbed by TV. We're numbed by all the screens. You know, I haven't had a TV for 10 years, more than 10 years. When I go to someone's place, I'm totally hypnotized by it. So I can tell it's a powerful tool, a very powerful tool.
The media, right?
And just the screen itself, you know, because you'll be looking, you know, it's your reptilian brain that goes and see movement and light. That's all it needs. And then you get distracted. That's distraction right there. That's already like starting to worship something else. Trying, you know, you're just fascinated by something that's not Allah.
Yeah.
So for me, that's that our society today has a lot of struggle, a lot of traps.
So if someone says, how can you give up music? I mean, people go to sleep to music, alarm to music. You know, that's all they think about, you know, making a new CD, put it in the car, blasting it, and just, you don't think about this reality, purpose of life, you know, and going beyond the partying, the playing, and amusement. So what if someone's telling, how can you live without music?
You know, I was right there. I was just having music 24-hour day, and I quit like this. You know, from one day to the next. I threw all my records. It was, you know, it wasn't very transitioning, but I had to, you know, make room, basically. So I did, and you know, alhamdulillah, I feel so much better. And that leads me to just other places now, places where silence is important, you know, where you can hear yourself think, just be able to connect with Allah. That's why we're traveling now, actually.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people can't do that. They can't bear to be by themselves because of eternal pain kicks in. They have to be around people. They have to be in the pub, in the bar, drinking, taking some substance because there's a void and they're filling it with the wrong things. Have you noticed that?
Very much so. And I'm trying today to fill it with the right things, basically.
That's what we're trying to do. Fill it with what the medicine that the Creator has given us.
Yes, you know, it's all around us. It's all around us, and especially in nature. That's my big thing now, is to go the way we're traveling now. So we told you we're on Hajj, actually, my wife and I. We're traveling to next year's Hajj, touring around the world, meeting a lot of mothers, you know, brothers and sisters, and also spending time in those places what they call organic farms, where people there, you know, they're very close to Islam, mashallah, because they have that direct connection with Allah, you know, and they're very much there. And I think for us, it's a one of the main solutions is out there, actually, in those places, in that kind of lifestyle, because what's coming today, you know, as far as the economic crisis, as far as the social crisis, everything is coinciding right now. Our iman in the cities is weak. When we go out, you know, it gives a full other meaning, basically, to what we're able to practice, to pray in nature, to have your, you know, your forehead on the ground and the earth. It's nothing comparable to that.
Appreciating, you know, the Creator by looking at His wonderful creation.
Exactly.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And you just get
you know, and
flabbergasted.
all of its, you know, peoples. You know, He created us in different tribes so that we can meet each other.
Yeah.
That's what's said in the Quran. You know, and that's what we're doing, basically. And we're very
so now, before we leave, you're also traveling the world with your wife.
Yes.
And you started now, and your destination, final destination, God willing, is where?
Mecca.
Mecca, Hajj.
Mecca, inshallah, Hajj.
To the first house of worship built by Abraham.
Inshallah.
Yeah.
Yes. Adam, even, you know, even going back further.
So that's your destination now. You're going to travel the world.
Yes.
Amazing.
From, you know, we started in France, Europe, Iceland, Greenland, the US, inshallah, South America, and then New Zealand, inshallah, Australia, inshallah, through Asia, inshallah, and then to Mecca,
yeah.
inshallah.
Beautiful. We got to go now, but there was also, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show, there's a famous UFC Ultimate Fighting Championship fighter, George
Saint-Pierre?
Saint-Pierre.
Yes.
You guys, you speak the same language.
We
and
do.
to many of the, you know, you said like, look, now we've got a lot of people's attention. They're listening, and hopefully we can get someone get it to him. And for all the other French people now, what would you, now that the door is open, what would you encourage them to do?
So to
In
George,
French, go ahead. To George, yeah.
À George et aux autres que ça peut intéresser, Dieu vous a donné cette chance d'avoir la santé, d'avoir un corps et une énergie qui vous permet de faire toutes ces choses admirables et extraordinaires. Dieu est capable de l'enlever aussi, à tout moment. Cette énergie, elle ne nous appartient pas, elle nous est donnée. Et juste avoir cette humilité, peut-être se rappeler ça, se dire qu'à tout moment ça peut partir et qu'il faut se dépêcher. Il faut se dépêcher de se rappeler et de remercier. C'est tout ce que demande Dieu. Dieu n'a pas besoin de nos prières. C'est Dieu qui nous donne l'occasion de se rappeler de lui, pour nous, uniquement pour nous donner la possibilité d'accéder à un monde encore meilleur, Inch'Allah.
Beautiful. God willing, that message gets to him and everyone else that understands the French language. Thank you for being with us here on the Dean Show.
Jazakallah khairan.
Well, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, this is a very important topic, you know, that many of us were neglecting. Purpose of life, why we've been created, and we shouldn't have apathy towards this. We should really think about it, and you want to model someone after someone who's successful, someone who's made $1 billion or $1 million, and then you look, okay, how'd they get there? So how did this person that lived for music, that was an agent to the stars, who just engrossed himself in materialism, now he came to this wonderful way of life that's based on reasoning, logic. Let's put aside all of these callow and just senseless arguments that are made by people. Islam, we obviously know, has nothing to do with all these things that are affiliated with it. Get to know it from the source. Meet a Muslim, ask these important questions, and really use your mind that the Creator has given you and weigh it out. It's easy to close the door on this, but open the door up and see what's behind that door. Really get to know this way of life that is from the Creator. It's not an organized religion by man or men, but it's organized by the one who created man and woman and everything in creation, the one who created creation. And I guarantee you, without a doubt, it will bring that peace that you're looking for into your heart. It'll be a new beginning, a new start. Follow us on Facebook, or like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and tune in every week to the Dean Show. And let's just, I mentioned that suicide and the antidepressants, you know, are on the rise. The pharmaceutical companies are making millions on people's depression. But why stay depressed? So start right now. I'll leave you with some homework. Look, ask your Creator to guide you. Real simple. Not a man, not a woman, not the creation, but raise your hands up, prostrate the way that Jesus prostrated, and ask the Creator alone. That just makes sense. What's eternally built inside you is identifying with this. Ask the Creator alone to guide you. establish a direct connection. Even the stars such as Oprah Winfrey and many of these billionaires, they meditate. They meditate daily, 10 to 20 minutes in the morning, 10 to 20 minutes at night to awaken this spiritual side in them. But you can do something even greater than that. Take time to thank your Creator for all the blessings, for the air that you're breathing right now, and all the countless blessings that you get throughout the day. Too many to enumerate on. So thank Him and ask Him for guidance. Let's start there. Don't let this program end, and after it, you're being hypnotized by the boombox and the TV. Do it right now. And we'll see you next time here on The Dean Show. Until then, peace be with you.